Hi again, Matty here. I'm just talking about this point of a memory that I've got flashing in my head. It's just this idiotic situation that happened way, way long ago. My parents always had a cottage when we were growing up. So we grew up. There were two cottages, one on the Gatineau River and another one in Marble Lake. It took quite a drive to get there. It was in the middle of nowhere. And it wasn't a very big lake, but it was shaped somewhat like a jelly bean, if you could imagine it. Sort of like had a great big area like this and a smaller area over here. And we were in the smaller area on this side over here. And the drive where we came in, we'd arrive over here somewhere, and my dad would hide the motor in the woods, and he'd have the boat chained to a tree. So he'd go off into the woods, he'd get the motor, and we'd bring some gas with us, and he'd get the boat and the motor set up, and off we would take, and we would come down on the lake until we reached the cottage. And the cottage was on a steep hill, very, very steep, and it had these two front legs that were really tall, made of cement bricks, and you know, the big blocks but like this on cement, and there was at least 12 of them stacked one on top of the other, and they had shorter ones in the middle, and at the back was touching on the ground. And I remember one winter when we arrived the first day in spring, the front ones had fallen off, some move with ice or something like that, and the cottage was still up. It hadn't fallen, so quickly he lifted them back up in place and got things solid again. Anyways, so this story happens after quite a while we've been there, and we had a fire pit. And the fire pit was, I don't know, a few, maybe let's say about 10 feet away from the lake edge. And it was a standard fire pit with stones around, a hole dug in the ground, and usually a lot of ashes in it too. But this time, what was going on is my dad had tried to start a fire and it hadn't worked. So there was a bunch of pieces of wood, some cedar and all sorts of little things. And he was frustrated that day, and just because it hadn't started, he wanted to get things to work. So he decided to go get some gas. And at the time, the gas that he had was a 5-gallon can. It was round, and it had this spout coming out like that. I don't know if you remember from the 60s or something like that, these metal cans with these metal spouts. Anyway, so he arrives there, and what he didn't realize at the time is that there was still a fire going. It was very small, but there was live flame. If there isn't live flame, it's not so much a problem with gas, but if there's an actual live flame somewhere, man, that gas is going to light up. And that's exactly what happened. He arrives with the can, and he goes gloosh like this, you know, and we were sitting around, I remember, on the edge over here, and I saw him just go gloosh like this, and the gas come down, and I saw the flame catch and run up the gas to the gas can. My dad, surprised by the gas coming up like that, just in an instant knee-jerk reaction, just went, ah! Like this, and he let go of the can, and he sort of pushed it forward as he let it go, and it fell right into the fire pit. And so it sat there, and it was going gagloosh, 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 putting out more and more gasoline, and the fire just kept getting bigger and bigger until eventually the only thing containing this fire was rock formation around the fire pit. And so it was about this big, and there were flames shooting up crazy high. Then Mom has an idea. She says, let's use a blanket and we'll smother it. So Dad runs off to the cottage. He comes back with a blanket. It was a yellow woolen blanket. And, you know, I'm standing back watching this. And so Dad goes on one side of the fire next to it, and Mom goes on the other side. And they each hold two corners of the blanket. And then they hold it taut, really tight. And they slide it like this right over the flames and bring it right down. And it's like a miracle. the flames are coming down with the blanket, and they bring it right down to the rocks. And the flames go right down to the rocks with them, and they're gone. And then they lift the blanket. And maybe, I don't know, if they'd left the blanket like it was, maybe it wouldn't have exploded. But the second they lifted that blanket, the blanket exploded into flames. And it was like an instant reaction. It went poof. And there was a huge circular hole in the blanket, and there was nothing left. There was just this little smithereens around the side, you know. So then they're at a loss, you know. Both of them are standing there trying to figure out what to do. And then Dad says, I've got to get it out there. So he grabs the fire stick, and he goes in there, and he wedges the gas can, and he levers it out of there. And I guess his intent was to roll it to the lake, which was just a few feet away, and there he figured it would put the gas out. And so it starts rolling, and it pops out of the fire pit and starts rolling. And as it's rolling, the spout is dripping gas, flaming gas, and it's leaving these flames spots as it rolls away. And eventually it falls into the lake, where the thing keeps spewing out gas, and gas floats on water. Don't know if you knew that, but I guess we did. We discovered that day. Floats on water, and the flames kept going, and so it just kept burning on the lake. So there was this area, and it was all great big flames. Now, meanwhile, while all of this is going on, what you got to realize is all this gas burning was putting out palls of smoke, tons of it, palls, huge things. And somebody noticed that somewhere. So all of a sudden, there's this helicopter that shows up. This is the middle of nowhere. But there's a helicopter there, and it arrives, and it comes up, and they're obviously checking out what this smoke is, you know. And so suddenly there, I'm standing by the fire pit, and I'm watching my dad and the helicopter. And my dad, you know, he looks at the helicopter and he goes like this, you know. I don't recall him saying anything. I don't think he could have been heard anyways, but I didn't see his face, but I could well imagine how he felt at this point. You know, he must have felt about like 3 inches tall or something. But, you know, he ends up just doing a little wave. It's okay. Everything's under control. I can just imagine. The helicopter hovered there for a while and eventually took off. The gas burnt itself out. Didn't catch the force on fire or anything, and that was the end of the event. But it's just this one little memory of a crazy event that happened. You know, the whole thing must have lasted, I don't know, 2 hours. You know, just a little moment in our life. But what a crazy moment, and what a funny memory to have. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my memory, and we'll see you again in the next one.